There's no reason you can't get a perfect score on the LSAT logic games section. I'll show you how. Hey, what's up everybody? Steve Schwartz here from LSAT Unplugged, joining you today to share how you can get a perfect score on the LSAT logic games section. Before I get into it, a little bit about LSAT Unplugged. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. Check out the links below this video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd love to help you out. So the reason I'm making this video is that a lot of students are stressing about the LSAT logic games section. Of course, it may be removed in the middle of next year in 2024. Check out my other videos on LSAC removing LSAT logic games for more on that. But the LSAT logic games section is here for the next several months. So if you're taking the LSAT in October, November, January, February, April, and so on, the LSAT will include the logic games section until LSAC explicitly notifies us to tell us otherwise. So for now, love him or hate him, the LSAT logic games section is here for now, which means you want to get a perfect score on it for the simple reason that logic games are perfectible. They don't have the same perceived ambiguities of language as logical reasoning and reading comprehension. So if you look at your typical 170 scorer on the LSAT, they're going to get perfect on games, maybe -1, but then more likely they're losing their points on reasoning and reading comp, getting maybe -3 on each of those sections. Now, of course, you have the question, how exactly do you get a perfect score on LSAT logic games? Well, first off, there are nearly 400 released LSAT logic games on the LSAT in the nearly 100 released LSAT prep tests. 4 games per exam, nearly 100 released exams, 93 of which are currently numbered. That gives you your 400 logic games you can practice on, and there's no reason that you shouldn't practice every single one of them multiple times if you are truly committed to getting a perfect score on the LSAT logic games. Which brings us to the number one way to perfect LSAT logic games, which is do every single logic game ever released several times, even the weird, old, bizarre ones that look a little bit different. Those can help get you ready for the so-called curveball weird logic games you occasionally see. And then, of course, you'll be airtight solid on ordering games, grouping games, combinations of both, matching, and so on. Next, we have the number 2 way to get a perfect score on LSAT logic games, which is maximize your upfront inferences. There is almost always going to be a way that you can make upfront inferences in a logic game, and you make inferences typically by combining multiple rules. So if you see the same variable or variables appearing in multiple rules, you can likely yield an inference simply by linking those rules together. So if you have a rule that says A requires B, another that says B requires C, you can form a longer chain, A requires B requires C, and that is an inference. Of course, it's a pretty easy one, just as an example for you. There are going to be tougher ones as well, but the more you can spot up front, the more efficiently you will be able to solve the game later. So number 2, again, maximizing your upfront inferences. Then finally, we have the number 3 way to get a perfect score on logic games, which is to maximize your reuse of previous hypothetical scenarios. If you have a valid scenario, a valid arrangement of the variables within a game, that could be potentially useful to you in solving future questions within that game. You will, of course, almost always have your orientation question in a game. The correct answer to that orientation question is itself a valid hypothetical scenario that could potentially help you later solve other questions in that game. Then if you draw local diagrams for specific questions, those will give you additional valid hypothetical scenarios that could help you solve other questions within a game. So when you are strategically determining the order in which to approach questions in a game, of course, I would always do your orientation question first. That's your gimme. Then you have your local if questions, like, for example, if X was on slot 3, what else must be true? Or if A is in, what else must be true? You use that if statement as your jumping off point to draw a hypothetical scenario. You then do all the local questions in the game. Then when you're later doing the general global questions within a game, you can reference back to your valid hypothetical scenarios to help you eliminate answer choices and potentially derive the correct answer right off the bat without having to draw anything new. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do me a favor. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. Maybe you know someone who's struggling on the LSAT logic game section. Maybe you know someone who's aiming for a top LSAT score and needs to score perfect on games. Do me a favor, share this video with them. It may give them that score boost they need to get perfect on games and hit that 170 plus mark. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.